Part 46. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 456. Yan Ji didn't think much about it. She lifted her feet and walked out, but there seemed to be an invisible barrier in front of her to stop her. At the same time, the voice of Gui Gaizun appeared in Yan Ji's mind. Little song, don't come out. Giwen, with a somber face, said something to Yanj with a sharp voice. Yanj also returned to him. It's not what he said, I'm going out to justify it. Saburo, you hold me like this, you're doing those things, do you not believe me? The final question was obviously stimulating to Giwen. He naturally believed in her. His lips squeezed tightly at this moment. The barrier in front of Yanj also disappeared at this moment. She slowly walked out in the eyes of everyone, and walked to the high platform of the square. Her footsteps stopped beside Hong Chen. Everyone's eyes fell on Yanj in the large square without arrogance. The audience was silent and the needle was heard. In fact, this woman named Duan Xiao shocked them too much. This woman came out of hatred, a waste material came to the pinnacle of life, and overthrown the genius without arrogance. They regarded her as an idol to worship, but now, this woman whom they admire in their eyes is a demon? Or a demon who killed thousands of men and slept men every night with evil techniques. Shivering, the men in the field squeezed two sweats for their ancestors. They really feel sorry for their old ancestors. After all, before they became accomplices, the other half was put on a green hat. The green hats have crushed people. No one can believe this. But the fact is right in front of us and everyone can't believe it. He took out a red umbrella from the storage space, opened it, and put a red cloak on red dust. Then Yan Ji looked up and looked at the two endless disciples. Boundless School sends monsters to kill demons, punishes evil and promotes goodness, and everyone in the world knows that it is normal to encounter wicked people to kill and torture monsters. One of the thinner and younger disciples of the Endless School, when he saw Yanj, he stared at him with a disgusted expression. At this moment, he heard Yanj so ask, thinking that she was reaching out for the demon on the ground. Chu immediately returned, of course it is normal, they killed so many people, and what kind of torture is also deserved. Yanj waited until his righteousness was finished, and then he looked up and said, the first man I killed was called Zhengji. He liked to humiliate young girls, especially young girls who had just been deflated. There are 38 young girls who have been humiliated. Most of them lied to the families of the young girls, saying that they would take the girls on the road to immortality, and then leave when the family thanked date for their congratulations. The second man I killed, he feeds on human brains, and also likes to use special instruments to knock open women's skulls when they are happy, and when he pursues those nuns, he is tender and passionate. With all his heart and soul, he complained, but all the nuns with him died. The third man I killed, he liked boys, and he was cruel and sexual. He liked to cut the meat of those boys with a knife, and watched them yelling and screaming with joy while he was eating. The fourth man I killed, he killed his wife and his son, and wanted to testify. The fifth man I killed, he was bullying, and he always liked to pay money to the women who ordered them, and then burn their bodies. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 457. She could read the names of the men who died in her hands. Background. I killed 30,886 men. Everyone in the audience was shocked. The celebrities are decent, and most of the disciples are still relatively naive. I never thought that there would be such a puppet in Xiaoxian realm. But I killed all the people I should kill. Throwing a root jade in the storage space into the sky, the jade is magnified, and the names of the men and the evils they have done are displayed. Yanj asked, why can't I kill such a man? What's wrong with killing them? The Endless School can kill the wicked and get a good name for it. Why do I kill these people but give me a devil's name? I have come all the way, worthy of the world, worthy of myself. Today you say that I am a demon, and I disagree. She spoke loudly, word by word, and assaulted everyone's minds like a pinch. Yeah, what a wrong person to kill them. The thin-skinned man of Wei sentimentally tightened the sword on his own waist because of his words. You obviously kill them to gain your own interests, you are sophistry. My interest? What is interest? Yang sneered. Famous in the world is called interest, for the sake of your own heart is also an interest. You dare to say that you do not have a little bit of ingredients that are beneficial to yourself this time. When you humiliate this man on the ground, you have no selfishness. She was so aggressive, her black and white clear eyes, so stubborn and determined to confront the man in front of her. How can this be the same? The young woundless disciple is not only young, but also has few things to go through. He is flushed with irritation by Yang. How can this be the same? What's different, you say? You, and those men, all do that kind of thing, you. Because he was angry, he could not speak clearly. But everyone understood what he meant. Yang looked up and laughed. Since you have used the secret method to see the memory in his mind, you should know that I had no practice at all and was a weak woman with no power to kill chickens. Why don't you show everyone the pictures of those people torturing me when I'm killing those people? I was never as good as you. I was born to be able to cultivate, and even less like you. I was able to enter the endless school and act in the name of righteousness. It is normal for you to look down on me. It's just that you ask yourself, what will happen to you when you get to my situation? Is it possible, to be ashamed of yourself? Or just die? Or just watch those people do evil? There are elders who are good at illusions. If you can ask yourself to do better than me, then you can try your own state of mind in the sites that have gone through my experience. Good, then I am convinced to take it orally, and I am willing to confess my sins before the people in the world. The words were sharp and pressing, and the thin disciples of the boundless faction turned pale and stood back 2 steps under the words of the words. You dare. You. The thin disciple even said a few words to you, but couldn't say the next words. It was the other man who had not spoken and was a little older. He raised his head slightly and looked at the words. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 458. This middle-aged man came to power, like a stone standing still, never talking, and the thin disciple was talking from beginning to end. Therefore, everyone even ignored his existence. Now, with his head up, his eyes fell sharply on Yang like 2 black swords. Can this person turn his gaze into substance? Everyone was surprised at the beginning of their hearts. The whole body suddenly became cold, and then looked at it. The whole body of the endless man on the stage had been frozen by frost and snow. The middle-aged man's gaze, which almost turned into substance, was frozen 3 feet away. Yan Ji's lips were slightly raised, she tilted her head, and looked at the elder disciples who were a little older. Why? You just can't stand it and just kill someone. The frosty snow on his face, the middle-aged disciple who couldn't even blink, said slowly, word by word, you have no reason to kill those people, but you can repair the magic. I will never let go of the endless faction. His Holiness, who has not spoken all the time, his voice rang out in this heaven and earth, she is born without a spiritual root. She had soaked in warm water such as eclipse grass, wraithbone, blood-tooth beads, etc. Her flesh rotted into mud during the day, and grew back at night, repeating this for 7 or 49 days. Like the vegetation, you absorb the heaven and earth aura. Do you say she cultivates magic? Wouldn't you say that the heaven and earth aura are all demons? When was the infinite school so ignorant? This sound lasted for a long time in the heavens and the earth, so that everyone could hear it very clearly. Jade bones and mysteries have been circulating in Xiaoxian realm for a long time. Although everyone has also heard that this secret method can make a cultivating genius, but what impresses you most is that there are several amazing and talented characters in the long history of cultivating celestial circles because they are stuck at critical moments. Unable to break through, so I chose to use this method of jade bones. As a result, in less than 10 days, all these people committed suicide because they could not withstand the pain of rotten muscles. Since then, although jade bones and muscles have legends that make people step up to the sky, no one tries easily. Because the people who tried it were dead before they reached the sky. At this moment, if someone else is saying this, everyone will not believe it. Who is Gui Yuanzun? He is the top figure in this world. Like him, there is no need to lie. After all, if he wanted to protect his words, he could do it without speaking. Since he said that, it must be true. When everyone looked at Yanj again, there was a little more admiration on their faces. As she said, thinking in other places, they must not be as good as her. Even if she kills people, she still uses the way that looks very evil. However, she kills all the people who should be killed. People, it's not bad to die 100 times 1,000 times. Obviously, the elders of the Endless School did not expect that Gui Yuanzun would say so. He froze slightly, the frost and snow on his body had melted, and his clothes were sticking to his body. At this moment, he looked a little dazed. But he did not dry his clothes, nor did he respond to His Holiness Giwen. He probably also knew that he was not qualified to fight against Gui Yuan, so although he was cast down by his own sect, he did not return. Instead, he raised his eyes and looked at the words, "Even so, how do you explain the magic in your body?" After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 459. This remark was rock-shattered again. The Endless School has a lot of mysteries that the immortal world cannot understand. For example, to extract the memory of others, for example, you can immediately notice the person who cultivates the demon. The question of the middle-aged man made all the people who would have admired the song, and all of them were vacillating, not knowing where to stand. Their eyes looked at Yanj, and they waited for Yanj's response. Yanji nodded, and said frankly, "My body can breathe the heaven and earth Reiki, and also the magic. I just met a little girl, she had a demon, so she helped her attract the demon to me. My body is special and I can purify magic." What she said made everyone take a breath. This physique is like a golden finger. If there is no Giwen sovereign covering this woman, the big guys in the field really want to trap this woman in their Dongfu. The Middle Ages didn't speak. Yan Ji said, "If you don't believe me, you can use my endless secret method to view my memory, but only you can see, that girl is not easy to cultivate, and the demon is just a moment. I do not want her to be in the future of others." He heard her own story. Woundless middle-aged heard the words and looked at the words immediately, and the expression really seemed to want to step forward to check. Kiwen said at this time, "I believe that a person has to do good deeds, we must rely on this method. Does the Endless School believe in you only to do good deeds? What is the immortal in your eyes?" Wicked people, I believe what she said, who doesn't? He is the ancestor of the immortal world, the first person in this world, he has said so, which fool would question his words? When the word of His Holiness Giwen fell, the crowd responded neatly and vigorously, I believe in the girl." One big guy even said to the middle-aged disciple on the stage, "Do you, the boundless school, think that the non-you ethnicity has a different heart? The people in the immortal world respect you, but do you want to make you wanton?" Of the eyes of the middle-aged man swept the crowd around him. He squeezed his middle sword and looked back to Yanj, and probably knows that today, it is impossible to get the answer he wants in Yanj. Even though he still had doubts in his heart, he could only suppress his emotions and said to Song Ji in a deep voice, "Everyone believes in you, I hope you will not let them down." When he was finished, he wanted to collect the red dust behind the words. Yan Ji took a step to the side, blocking his footsteps. You can't take it away." Another little disciple of the Endless School immediately stared at the words, "He is a demon, don't go too far." Yanj asked him, "You have seen his memory, has he killed good people or done bad things?" The young disciple was choked by Yanj. Yanji immediately understood that she raised her eyebrows, and her voice was stronger than just now. Similar people also have bad people. Similarly, people who cultivate demons also have good people. The way is different. Do you want to kill them? The immortal is cut off. Why do you take his life? If he did 10 evil things, he didn't do anything evil, but you tortured him to kill him. Your idea is really magical. From the beginning, the little disciples of the Endless School disciples were the losers of Yanj. Now, I can't say a word. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 460. He is a demon. The middle-aged disciple did not budge this time. He looked at the words. Although his expression was calm, his voice was firm. If we do kill people in the future, we will have different hearts. I can help him, Yanj said, I can help him transform the magic of him. The boundless middle-aged disciple didn't have an expression on his face until this time. His eyes looked at the words, his lips were tilted, and he laughed with a slight disdain. Girl Duan, today is you and Giwen Tianzun. His voice was long and unhurried. Are you sure you want to purify this demon by double cultivation? As soon as he said this, everyone's gazes were glanced at the Supreme Giwen on the highest seat. Before the double repair ceremony is held, the ant will wear a green hat to himself. It seems that no one can accept this kind of thing. In particular, this one is still the supreme of this world. However, His Holiness Giwen seems to be more than just a green hat. I do know why. I always feel that autumn is normal. The wind around me is slamming into everyone's back. The cold person wants to snore, even the kneecap is like the wind blows and wants to kneel softly. Go to. Not only those disciples from all walks of life present, but even those big brothers who can stomp the Xiaoxian realm by shaking their feet in the Xiaoxian realm are also in their hearts. It's so irrational to anger Giwen Tianzun. In particular, how should such a matter go on privately? How can it be said in the public? Alas, I hope my ancestors never thought about dying, and I also hope that my ancestors will not avenge themselves in the future. After all, it doesn't seem to be a good thing to learn a secret like this. They still want to ask their ancestors. It seems hopeless. Yanj ignores the first question of the middle-aged disciple of the Endless School, but instead asks, if I say yes, can you let him go? The middle-aged disciples have not spoken yet, and the audience is already noisy, but these voices disappeared soon, because the invisible bitterness around them made them stop talking, and the two wars even looked up. No. So terrible, they felt an invisible killing intention, and they always had the illusion that they were hanging up immediately. The middle-aged disciple of Woundless School said, Heaven has good virtues. If you want to save him, I can stop you. As long as he can get out of the magic, I should answer you. What he said was firm. In fact, there was a bit of enthusiasm in his heart. After all, the former Giwen Lord stepped on his boundless pie in succession in front of so many people. Although he could not beat the Yuan Lord, he was always small little revenge, isn't it? Yanj got this, then he turned his head and looked at Giwen Tianzun, who was sitting at the highest place. Giwen Tianzun has been looking at her. She turned her head and looked at each other. This man, he was expressionless at the moment. However, because he has always been such an expressionless face, no one else has ever felt that he was wrong. Only when Yan Ji saw him at the moment, he realized that there was no tenderness in his eyes. Without tenderness, without softness, it was like the wind and frost clips wrapped in the bottom of his eyes, making him look aloof and indifferent. At this moment, he looked at her like this, and all the coercion in the whole body was converged by him, his lips clenched, obviously, waiting for her to speak. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 461. Yan's eyelashes trembled, and she lowered her head slightly to avoid his holiness, saying, "He once pulled me back from the place of death. He saved me from danger and gave me another chance to send blood to the heavens and the earth. Without him, there would be no me. Without him, this world of cultivating immortals would not know that there is a heaven and earth pie. There are many kind and innocent people in them. They were all killed by their most beloved master. I wouldn't see you without him. Tianzun, my affairs have always been hidden from you, myself, I have always been selfish, afraid of not being able to avenge myself, so I want to use your power. I know that you are kind, and even if you know my care, I have always condoned me. Sorry, a woman like me is not worthy to stand with you." She knelt slowly, nodding her head in the direction of him. I wished Tianzun a glimpse of the road as soon as possible. But before her head touched the ground, she was held up by an invisible force, making her unable to hold her head. She looked up and looked at Giwen Tianzun again. This man, he just sat there, even if he was in a red coat, he couldn't cover the loneliness of his body. Yan Ji knows that he really likes himself. In a short period of time, the affection was shallow and deep. Although she did not understand why he liked herself, she understood how rare it was to have such an existence like the Giwen Supreme Master. She didn't want to be a stumbling block in his heart, nor did he want him to be demonized by her in the future. So she immediately said, "Tianzun, I have no intention to enter without arrogance." At that time, thinking, he entered Wuzong Zone. How can such a person enter Wuzong Zone? It must be that the Wuzong Zone people intentionally shielded him, so even the people without Wuzong hate. I started from to approach you in the beginning is to get revenge. Sorry, she tried to scratch her head again. But her body stood up with a cold spirit. She heard him say, "You go." He stood up, stood with his hands up. The wind came, and blew his robe, red hair and white hair, creating a unique scenery. "You are not sorry to me, it is indeed that I have no delusions to know and indulge him. If you want to go, then go. Wuzong is owed to you. If you need it later, you can come to Wuzong anytime. In the world of immortality, if anyone is against you because of today, you are against me as a whole. I have left a mark on your consciousness. If you are in trouble, call as you please." As his words came down, a mark had already entered the consciousness of the words. She looked up and looked at him. His clothes are flying high, and he is covered with purity and arrogance. At this moment, he looks like a who makes people look up. When he looks at him, he wants to kneel and admire. His words, word by word, were loud and powerful, rather than talking to her, but to the people present. This man. At this time, she was still guarding her and had a back road for her. This taught her how he could not remember him well. "Thank you," Saburo swallowed slowly in her mouth. "Reach out, take off the pair of ruby-encrusted gold crowns on your head, and slowly place them on the ground. This is a pair of gold crowns that he built himself, and there are various organs in it. He once taught her how to use the gold crown. This is what he gave to the other half, and she is now unworthy. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 462. Ignoring the scattered ink hair, Yan Song lowered his head again, and took off the puppet with the same gold crown hanging on his neck, and placed it next to the gold crown. For a moment, She actually wanted to look up at Giwen Tianzun. This guy, if anyone else, it's ruthless. She believes that when encountering such a thing, most men will only treat it as a shame, and will only think about killing her secretly and killing the shame instead of continuing to she hangs in her heart. The mighty one is unstable in heart and fragile. She was really afraid that he would explode in the dark. But his lips moved, and he couldn't say anything, and didn't have the courage to look up at Giwen Tianzun. The more she talked about this scene, the more uncomfortable it seemed to him. After a slight meal, Yan Ji turned and bent down, picked up Hong Chen, and sent the two of them to the endlessly, nodding his head slowly, step by step down the steps. So many people in the square. No one made a sound. Not even the sound of breathing. Everywhere she passed by, everyone spontaneously gave way, and they bowed their heads silently, without even the courage to look at her. At this moment, not only the body is shaking, but also the heart is shaking. The coercion of the above one was too heavy, which made them feel fear from their hearts, and even felt as if they were empathic, a kind of sadness and sorrow flowing in their hearts. These people, without knowing why, thought of first love. Those who have no first love, think of those relatives who have been dead for many years. I really want to cry, but my tears seem to be savvy, and I won't let them shrink. Yan Song did not look back. Even if she didn't look back, she could feel the guild's gaze always on her. He was watching her leave. The man's actions made her completely puzzled. Because I was puzzled, my heart became even more uncomfortable. Looking down, looking at the dying red dust, Yan Ji smiled silently at the red dust. Hong Chen is still alive and still in this world. She can do it, but the concern in her heart is gone. Hong Chen had a pair of black paint, as if her eyes were wrapped in magical qi, staring straight at her. He asked softly, "Are you sad? Are you sad?" It is sad, too. Although she is a tree, she is now integrated with the host in the host's body. Not only flesh and blood, but also affection and heart. From the beginning, she approached His Holiness Giwen in order to be able to help the host with revenge. From the beginning, she had an impure purpose. Perhaps it should be said that at the beginning, her mutual purpose with Giwen's sovereign was impure. She is to borrow his power, and he is to use her to help him channel the sorrow brought by the exercises. She has always been sober. But he has been stuck. She remembered that a few days before the Shuangziu ceremony, he was like a premarital palpitator who walked up and down the Cabernet Sauvignon throughout the day. He changed the style of Cabernet Sabre every day, and asked like a treasure she doesn't look good. She remembered that he lingered around her day after day and promised her that she would never abandon her. He did, even if she was like this, he never abandoned her. But she abandoned him. Still in the presence of people in the world, gave him such a big embarrassment. Can he live through this not? Hong Chen's hand took Yan's sleeve and said, "Cry out when you are sad." Yan Ji blinked, her lips clenched, and she did not speak. She knew that even if her voice was low, Giwen could hear it. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 463. There is no delusion in this whole, as long as Giwen Tianzun thinks, there is nothing he does not know. So even though Yan Ji was a little depressed, he didn't speak out. She walked steadily, step by step, and slowly walked out of Wuzong. The walk ran out the first time and turned into a big wobble before her eyes. Yan Ji lingered for a long time before trying to understand that this pen was for her and Hong Chen to sit on the bottom of the pen. Hemp eggs, obviously a mouth pot, what big tail spaceship is also installed. Yan Ji despised the little in her heart, but she was too lazy to summon the instruments that Guiyuan Tianzun gave her, and jumped directly into the bottom of the pot. The pot flew to the sky. Really great. This is going to modern times, there must be many people yelling, "Look, the pot flies in the sky." Yan Ji's thoughts are chaotic in his heart, but he can still stay calm. She calmed Hong Chen and said, "I'll help you recover when you find a quiet place where nobody is." She lay him on her lap with one hand, and held a red umbrella in the other. The umbrella is a little different from his usual one. However, she thought that since he always holds the umbrella, he must be afraid of light, so no matter what umbrella, it should be useful to him. Hong Chen pulled her hand holding the umbrella, and he said, "Stow away." His bright red umbrella was for her to see him at first glance when she looked back, no matter how far she went. Yanj asked him, "Aren't you afraid of light?" Hong Chen laughed. His smile was shallow, but now he looked very shy when he looked at this face. His hoarse voice said softly, "That umbrella has the effect of solidifying the soul." Oh, Yanj understood. Hong Chen's body is a tadpole created by Giwen Tianzun, and Hong Chen should be a ray of soul from which world came to this body, so it has the soul-fixing umbrella. She should have thought. Hong Chen's hand went down her wrist and pinched one of her fingers. He asked, "Remorse?" Without waiting for the song to say, he said, "If you regret it, you have time." Yan Song shook his head. "Nothing to regret. In life, many things will not be fulfilled. If even this regret cannot be accepted, then the living is too fragile." Hong Chen laughed lowly. His voice was hoarse and cracked, and when he laughed, his voice was naturally not so nice. His words used to look like the light wind and the moon in his prime day. Seeing him now, his heart was a little bit sour. Falling into the hands of those who know no bounds, he must have suffered a lot. In particular, those of the endless school and the secret methods of searching people's memories. Even if the damage to the sea is minimal, it is not impossible. "What a stupid girl," Hong Chen said. "I am like this, like him with cloud mud." "You are too stupid." Yanj grabbed his hand instead. "Without you, there would be no me, and I'm as mud as you." He sighed, but didn't speak again, about tired. Yan Song's aura tried to nourish his body, but as soon as he touched his body, the aura was rebounded, treating him as if he could only use the double cultivation method. Yanj is not an amorous woman. The host is naturally not. Otherwise, you will not live now. So I found a clean place and felt that it was far enough. Yanj found a Reiki from the storage space, which would become a magical instrument in the courtyard. I was afraid that God's consciousness could be traced back, so Yanj made the cauldron bigger. And then buckled on the yard. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 464. Throwing a handful of sparkles suspended in the air, there was a hazy light in the room. Yanj held Hong Chen into the room and put him into the hot tub. These seemed to be the gadgets given to her by Giwen. If Supreme Master Giwen knew that she was doing that kind of thing with other men in the yard he sent her to, would he be vomiting blood? Estimated to explode in anger. This thought flashed in my mind. Yanj took off the layers of red clothes on her body, slowly stepped into the water, held the terrible red dust in her arms, and bowed her head and kissed. Still familiar pain. She seemed like she hadn't experienced pain for a long time. Man is a very forgetful and unbearable being. Yanj thought lingeringly, has Hong Chen been experiencing this pain all the time when she left? The red veins on Hong Chen's body began to change color again, and the sweat beads on Hong Chen's forehead slipped down. He bit his teeth tightly, but his body was shaking. Yan Song paused, then he hugged tightly. This time, Yanj did not pass out. The passage of time minute by minute is extremely long and extremely painful. Later, Hong Chen took pain to embrace Yanj and went to bed. His fingers were inserted into the hair of Yanj. He bowed his head, kissed her eyebrows, his expression was full of obsession. "I'm him too," he said softly in his ears, "I'm him too, Don't you be sad, and don't regret it, I will certainly not be worse than him in the future. So what? What do you mean? Yan Ji was a stimulus, his eyes widened, his face staring at the red dust in disbelief. The red tendons on Hong Chen slowly faded away. His voice was low and dumb, with a magnetic sinker that could seduce people. He did something wrong and almost went into magic. I was the demon born from his heart. He couldn't suppress me, so he wanted to find a woman like you to help him. I was then hiding and escaping from the Tartars. Zyoj, now you still have his imprint in the consciousness. If I swallow it, it will surely grow stronger. The humiliation these people have given us will be doubled again in the future. Zyoj, I will be good to you, better and better than him. I will be stronger than him. He put on his forehead. Yan Ji saw that he was once again covered with black gas in his eyes. That's all for now, where can I not understand the purpose of hunger? Hong Chen is not a magical repair, nor is it a flying soul. His existence is a demon. And it's the devil born of Gui Yuanzun. Yanj doesn't know how this guy got conscious, but after he got conscious, he grew up step by step. Now this guy wants to kill Yuan Tianzun and replace it. He wanted to devour the trace of Gui Yuanzun left in her knowledge of the sea. Don't, Yanj begged, don't. But he pressed her, and she couldn't resist. Hong Chen was forcibly devouring the cultivation that Yuan Tianzun had given her. And the ray of consciousness left by Yuan Tianzun in the soul. He touched the corner of her eye with his finger and said softly, "Little song, don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. When I swallow him up, he will be me and I will be him, so you don't have to be sad, we also yes, always together." Even now, he looked at her with the most gentle and spoiled eyes. She looked at him all the time, her eyes moved, and her eyes slowly burst into tears unknowingly. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 465. It was so painful that Yan Song never shed tears, but now, she didn't know what happened to her, and the tears shed unconsciously. With a slight movement of her fingers, the cauldron rushed in from outside the yard, and it became a normal size in an instant, and then hit the back of Hong Chen. Yanj has confidence in his pot. After all, at that time, this guy's predecessor was a brick. It was the existence of smashing the teeth of the devouring beast. There was a loud bang, and Yan Ji shuddered under Hong Chen's body. This pot was nothing special. If you smash like this, Hong Chen's head will have to be open. In fact, the situation is more serious than Yan Ji thought. After being smashed by the wok, Hong Chen's head was not open. His body was cracked and cracked. There are more and more cracks on Red Dust's body, just like the smashed ice surface. After the cracks spread at a speed visible to the naked eye, they crack. The skin of the two people were close together, and the red forehead rested on Yan Song's forehead. For this reason, even if Hong Chen's body is broken for a split second, Yanj feels it most. She watched his body turn into dust before her. Anytime the girl sees the situation suddenly in her bed partner, it is estimated that she will be frightened directly. However, Yanj's response was extremely fast. After her body was freed from the power of red dust, she turned up and took out a robe from her storage space and put it on her body. Shrouded in enchantment. Sure enough, Hong Chen's body was sloppy. This shattered into ash, and Hong Chen became a plume of black smoke, and he rushed out the first time. Because the cauldron no longer covered the small yard, and he moved his words to understand the consciousness in the sea, he could feel that man was coming in this direction. But with the enchantment of Yanj, he couldn't rush out. Come here, I'll help you find another body. Don't run around. This black mist, in the words of the song, paused in mid-air. Then gradually transformed into 5 features and a figure. Small song, he said harshly, he's here. His body was trained by himself. Even the command of the Supreme Master Yuan failed to destroy the body. Under the attack of the magic weapon, not only his body became ashes, but even this strand of his soul seemed to be torn into two halves of pain at that moment. In this way, he is not his opponent at all. Yanj hadn't spoke yet, and slowly walked into the yard alone, standing at the gate outside the enchantment. Is the Supreme Master? He frowned, staring blankly at the dark shadow opposite Yanj. It is the worst place in my heart. His vision finally fell on the words, and he said guiltily, it was my negligence that gave it today's climate. Xioj, it is the existence of evil and evil. In the Wuzong zone, although I recognized him, I did not act rashly. I wanted to leave him and find a sparsely populated place to solve him. Wronged you. What Giwen has not said is that before this demon used magic, he sat on the high platform and felt that as long as he approached the demon himself, he would be restrained and affected by his mood. She made a noise, but was not able to stand by her and protect her behind her.